so strong, girl. I can feel you slipping away.
Yo, what's goody? What's goody in the east? What's good, Elijah? What's good? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I feel like I'm Kyrie doing that. What's good? What's good? Happy Monday. I feel like I'm Kyrie every time Kyrie be doing that. He's like, yeah, we together. We together, fam. Hopefully. Um, hey, listen, between you and me, between you and me, you know who number one is. You feel what I'm saying? But how's everybody doing, man? How's y'all weekend? We may have had a lot when I'm You try to win with the chip like Mike did, like Mike in '98. You try to win with the chip. You trying to win on top. You trying to win on top like Mike in '98. Yo, isn't that crazy? He's like one of the only athletes to do that, man, to be able to win out on top. But hey, so this is the plan for today. Let me intro the show, and I'll tell y'all what the plan for today is. So welcome to another episode of the Jayson Estrera podcast, where we talk about basketball as accurate as possible. Now, we are going to end up having a little bit of a more serious conversation later, so we'll try to have a little bit of a more lighthearted conversation leading up to it. We're gonna talk about the All-Star weekend for the WNBA. We'll talk about the skills challenge. We'll talk about the game, and we'll talk about the things that are going viral as a result of the weekend. Some of the wrong stuff, in my opinion, coming out of the weekend, when it really was a weekend to be celebrated. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. But first, we do have breaking news for today. I don't know if y'all have seen this yet, but we do have breaking news for today. So here, let me show you guys, if you guys haven't seen this yet. Chris Paul is going back to the Clippers. Chris Paul back to LA. Back with Harden, right? Gonna be with Kawhi, Bradley Beal. There are some names on that team. On paper, there are a lot of names on that team, but this is clearly a farewell tour. This is clearly a farewell tour for Chris Paul. Based on the comments that he had that we went over like a week or two ago, he only sees himself playing another year at most. So going back to the Clippers, I think, is a decision that was based in that, and I think he's ready to retire, and he's gonna end it in LA. It's funny, he could have went to the Lakers if he wanted to end it in LA, just to be in Los Angeles, but he went with the Clippers. Obviously, there's history there. But he's gonna play behind James Harden. Like, at that point, would you have rather played behind Luka and with LeBron ish? I don't know, but I guess obviously he has the history there, so that part makes a lot of sense. So how do you guys feel about this? I almost went, but had plans come up. Oh damn, to Indiana? You almost went to Indiana for All-Star weekend? That would have been dope. Everyone is such followers. As you watch the NBA, you pick up more and more. I'm starting to realize there's always a team everyone just flocks to all of a sudden. You gonna learn, Elijah. You gonna learn. You gonna learn. You gonna learn. Yeah, man. I mean, like I don't want to be the old head, but I've watched a lot of basketball, and a lot of the NBA. So you're gonna realize how some of these teams operate. That's why I talk the way that I do about these things, right? I've watched everything. I watched like all of their interviews growing up, all of the halftime. Like I watched, I consumed all of that content. So you're gonna learn how these NBA fans are. You're gonna learn. CP3 to Clippers retirement home. Tulip plays. Is he gonna get a edit from you? Is there gonna be a CP3 edit like going back to LA? It's kind of cool though. He will be able to go home and maybe finish business. I mean, the Clippers just have a lot of question marks. Um, the Clippers to me, they just have a lot of question marks. One, obviously, Kawhi Leonard's health, right? And I know there were reports recently he's planning to be able, he's training to play a full season, and I hope the way we've seen with him, right? I hope the trade off isn't I play a whole season and then I'm injured in the playoffs because at that point you'd rather have him in the playoffs. James Harden, we've seen that he can carry most of he can carry most of the year on his back for the most part in the regular season. The question mark with James Harden is in the playoffs, right? So you can't have a questionable James Harden in the playoffs and also a Kawhi Leonard out. Because then you're going to be looking at Chris Paul and Bradley Beal to all of a sudden carry the team, and that's just not ideal, right? So, those two are the big question marks. Kawhi's health, James Harden in the playoffs, but we got to see what type of Bradley Beal we get moving forward. All of these guys are also on the older side. This isn't a young team. Eh, I'm trying to picture how they're gonna look playing the game, and it's gonna be so heavily half court. They're gonna be a slow team in my opinion. I think that we're about to see a really slow Clippers team. Um, yeah, I don't know how this one goes. Russ going back to the Nugs. I really hope he does. I mean that would be cool. He had a great fit with that team, but I don't know. I don't know if another team will offer him a little bit more money. I'm gonna start making NBA edits from August. Fire, fire, fire. Delano Benton edits. You gonna have to get a Delano Benton tattoo, dog. The way you bring him up. Um, you're a Blazers fan. But I like this move, honestly. I think. Well, how about this? Do you guys think Chris Paul should get a farewell tour? Curious on whether you guys think Chris Paul deserves a farewell tour, and who else deserves a farewell tour in y'all opinion? Because I mean, like a Steph Curry. Um, Even if they all go in healthy and get to the finals, somehow trying to play 40 minutes, 7 games in the finals is tough as for them. Jason, that's a great idea of Delano Ben's high in the priorities. Not really for Chris. Um, I'm curious though. Like, he's going back to the Clippers. They got Zubac. They don't really have a young team. They're just like that. I mean, that's my thing. I feel like they're just gonna be really slow in a league that's getting younger and more athletic, right? At some point, all of that they just run past you regardless of your experience sometimes. Um, yeah, I just how this team is gonna fit. We'll see how they fit, but I think it does solidify obviously the backup point guard role for Chris Paul. He will get you good shots. He will get you good possessions. They could even play him with James Harden and Kawhi Leonard, so it gives that option as well too. Um, and and have Bradley Beal on the bench for the meantime, and then have him come in to like close a quarter. Like they could have a lot of different variations to their lineups. I'm picturing a little bit of a slower team moving forward. I guess he's been a good servant to the league and is a top 5 to 10 point guard ever. I'm a Raptors fan. He's just a hometown kid. Um, Coming back and being our tall guard off the bench. Clippers are super slow. Um, I mean, I don't. I genuinely I don't mind a farewell tour for Chris Paul. Like I said in like previous episodes, big Chris Paul fan growing up, big Chris Paul fan. I think he's severely underrated actually at this point when it comes to the playmaking and being a ball handler, right? With all of the scoring guards that are scoring 20 points, 20 plus points per game, I think some, especially some newer fans, like we talked about, some of them will look at Chris Paul's stats and say, "Oh, well, he didn't, he didn't really score that much, right?" Especially compared to these guys that are getting 25, 30 points per game nowadays, right? Career 17 points per game isn't a whole lot, but 9.2 assists for his career, 5-time assist champion, 6-time steal champion, is the he was and honestly still is the mold if you want to be a traditional point guard, right? Everyone's not going to be 6'9", 6'11", like Magic Johnson, right? Most point guards are 6 feet, 6'2", 6'1", 6'2", 6'3". And if you want to be more of a traditional point guard, Chris Paul is the perfect person to go look at and watch. So in that regard, I think he is deserving of um, a farewell tour. However, I don't know if everyone necessarily deserves one. Like, for example, LeBron obviously is going to get one if he wants one. I think if Steph Curry wants one, he's also deserving. I personally think Kevin Durant warrants one. However, will he? I don't know. I think Kevin Durant gets a lot of hate. Being someone that's been on a lot of teams. I don't know if that works as a positive for him or a negative. Maybe he'll get a lot of love from different teams because he's been on a couple different teams. But we've seen a lot of guys, not get farewell tours, right? So, um, I, I I also don't want it to be a thing that everyone starts to get. Imagine everyone starts getting farewell tours all of a sudden. Like I wouldn't want it to get saturated and diluted like that. So that is something that I'm curious what will happen moving forward, because some of the greats that we watched growing up, they will be retiring soon. And I'm sure everyone wants love and praise, right? No one's gonna say no to getting showered with love and praise. And I wonder if the NBA could run the risk of giving too many of these moving forward, but we'll see what happens. Um, what do you think of Smart to the Lakers? They need defense, but we're also this is also a much older Marcus Smart. Um, I feel like their roster needs a lot. Honestly, and this is just me being selfish when it comes to the Lakers. Y'all know how I feel about Bron, but selfishly, I would kind of love for this team to not be that good. Because Luka's coming back in shape, right? In better shape than he's been recently. Let's say that. I don't know if he'll be in the best shape of his life. We'll see. But from everything we've seen recently, he'll be in much better shape than he's been. Um, and I would hope that he literally destroys every record next year. If they have a shit team, I hope Luka just goes berserk. That's just me selfishly. So if Marcus Smart helps that, that's great. Hi Kuya, hi mom, hi mom. I wouldn't give Kev one. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I just love Kevin Durant's game. I think he's just a purist from a purist standpoint. But I don't think he's gonna get one personally. A farewell tour is like you get acknowledged at every arena, right? For the most part. And what I think and the thing is, right? The thing with the farewell tour, the first team that gives him one or that gives a player one, whether it's early in the season or it's the last time that player is going to play in that arena, that I think will set off a chain reaction because then all the other teams are going to feel pressured to do it after. But we'll see what happens. I think top 50 all-time type players should get one, like Bron, Steph, KD, Giannis, etc. CP3 isn't quite there, if that's the definition. Bron, Steph. Um, yeah, ideally, right? Ideally, that would be nice because I think I did Michael Jordan get a farewell tour? I feel like he kind of sort of did. That was what the Wizards situation was. Um, the that situation was, but yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I would hate for it to be all super overly saturated and to dilute the meaning of the farewell tour. I don't want it to lose its meaning, right? No disrespect to all of these other players that don't get it, right? But I don't want this to lose its meaning, right? To these players that are really impactful in the game. And like I said, maybe Chris Paul um isn't a top 70. Wait, isn't he a top 75 player of all time? Yeah, he's in the top 75. So by that metric, being honestly the standard for a traditional point guard in the modern NBA in the modern era, um excuse me, I think definitely deserving of one if they want to. Excuse me, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens if he announces it. We'll see. It really kind of comes down to um honestly to what the player wants, right? Like if you want to um if you want to get one. I think him going to the Clippers kind of signals he wants to get one, cuz it would be weird to give him a farewell tour if he was in a different jersey, right? Like if he was in an Orlando Magic jersey, I feel like it would look really weird to give Chris Paul a farewell tour. Am I lying? I feel like that would look really weird, right? And so him going to the Clippers, I think, really opens up that opportunity and that door, so it doesn't look weird. It doesn't look out of place. And then also if he announces it early in the season, then obviously that's what will happen. But we'll see how it plays out. I think he'll get one though. I think he'll get one. Why would the Raptors give Giannis, KD, Russ, etc.? Like, what connection? The difference is there is much more apparition for guys like Kobe, Steph, and Bron that teams that have no connection may be willing to. Yeah, I think you could get kind of bullied into it though. Yeah, like I said, if a team starts it and like if the player announces, like let's say for Chris Paul's sake, right? He goes back to the Clippers, the team where I think his popularity really grew, right? Where he became a household name. He separated himself from Darren Williams, right? Was in the Clippers jersey, right? So he comes back to the Clippers, semi announced before that he's retiring. So if he announces he's retiring, a team does it. It sort of puts pressure on every other team after that to do it, because then if you don't give the player one, you're gonna get killed in the media, right? So and let's be honest, right? Let's call it what it is, right? Let's call it what it is too. Um, it's just a commemorative video and some sort of gift. It's not. In my opinion, it's not that much, right? Obviously, I think the teams that have a bigger connection will have a more extravagant celebration, but otherwise I think if a team doesn't have that much of a connection, it'll just be highlights, videos thanking him for his contribution to the game, whether it's directly affected that team or not. Give him a little something and then move on, right? I think we'll obviously know the teams that have a bigger connection, so that's how that will go. Which remaining free agents do you think is better out of Okogie and GP2? Just off of, I mean, I think I've watched GP2 more. I would say GP2. I like the little things, and like I said, I've watched the Warriors a little bit quite a bit this year. I like the little things GP2 does to be annoying, right? GP2, uh, Uh, that's it. But it also changes history and players' legacy. What do you mean? Or solidifies it? We should be intentional. Um, I don't think this changes anything about his legacy. I'm not gonna lie to you. Whether he gets one or not, I don't think this really changes anything in Chris Paul's legacy, in my opinion. Uh, I think he's probably gonna get one. But I do like this GP2 convo. Um, with finishing and DBPM. I also think, like, when I watch Gary Payton Jr., right, the thing that I love about him, you'll see him pick up full court, right? But he won't, like he does things where he won't just pick up full court. He'll pick up full court and he'll be leaning. He'll be leaning on the player like this. He'll just be leaning. He'll be talking to them. Like I like those little aspects that he does to be annoying, because he's obviously not this super talented offensive player. He's there for defense, to be scrappy, to steal possessions. Right? That's really his goal. He's there to steal possessions, to force players into turnovers, get offensive fouls. Like, that's what he's there for. And when you watch him, the little things on defense, taking the offensive player's space constantly, right? Not conceding space. A lot of those little things that he does, I personally love, right? It'll never show up on a stat sheet, but I said this about TJ McConnell a lot. I think if he's matching up with you when he's checking into a game, it's one of those, like, I think some players roll their eyes. They're like, oh my God, here's this motherfucker. Because they know for the next 5, 6, 7 minutes, however long he's in the game, he is on your ass, right? He is on your ass. So, I'll take GP2 for me. For Chris, not so much, but people will definitely remember Russ more favorably if he gets one, and people may forgive KD or romanticize KD with the farewell. Hey man, KD is him. KD is him. I'll be honest, I don't think Kevin Durant wants a farewell tour. So I don't think he'll get one. CP3 joined the AARP team. It is the hospice team. Hello, Bruce. What's up, Brucey? What's up? What's up? Chris Paul and Harden hated each other. Now they cool now. Bruce, Chris Paul is there just to get a farewell tour. He's there just to get some guy. I mean, let's be honest too. Like I said earlier, right? Let's all be human for a second. No one's gonna say no to getting some gas. No one's gonna say no to getting love. Like it's just not a real thing. It's just not a real thing. Most people will take that. Most people will take that. Chris Paul, Harden, Haiti. In my opinion, Okogie does more. How productive was Gary in Portland when healthy? That's true too. The to your point, the system does matter, right? Are they gonna let the players play it to their strength? By the way, hello everyone. The true number one is here. Look, bro. This man got aura, bro. Oh my god. Yo, guys, this is Bruce every time he jump in this chat.
Say congratulations, but you know they watch that shit. I ain't even gonna get mad. I'm young, black and rich. She tryna sell me lies, bitch. I ain't buying shit. If we ain't talking, don't say congratulations, but you know they.
This part right here is Bruce shooting Elijah off the number one right here. This is when Bruce snipes him off of the number one. Yo, I don't know how this thing works, man. I don't know how this thing works. I'm gonna have to figure it out. KD is completely over NBA culture. He wasn't healthy in Portland, just 15 games. Yeah. That meme never gets old. It really doesn't. It really doesn't. That kid it looks fire. It's fire. I'm pretty sure it's like a balance thing for the boat, right? Because the less it's bobbing, the faster they'll be able to go. So I think that's what it is, but just hey, doing your job when doing your job to the best of your ability just naturally gets you to Aura Farm. Mr. Aura, Richaun Holmes is available on a vet min. Do you think he'd be a good backup big? It really depend on who you're building, like on the team that you have. Let's see. Let's take a look at. Um, 31 games last year. At 31 years old. I mean, as like a third string big, I don't see why not. I don't see why not, but like I said, it really depends on what type of team you're trying to build. Not really, in my opinion. A lot of frustration for whatever fan base, but I don't know. Bigs are. I feel like right now there's like take the. I mean, I guess the Lakers got Brooke Lopez now and DeAndre Ayton, but even the teams that needed a big were not signing him. So it's getting a little bit. It starts getting a little bit late. You start getting into August, trying to wait for a phone call. It starts looking slow for some of these guys. His per 36. I mean, oh yeah, the Clippers have Brooke. Oh, Jackson Hayes is their backup. Since we talking about aura, literally all Batman does is aura farming. Every single scene is starting to make me mad. I mean, bro. That's the goal right there. He just be standing on top of buildings and shit looking down on people like, you peasants. And he a billionaire looking down on you, so I'm gonna look away at that now too. But the GOAT. Lakers have Jackson as a backup. The per 36 is what your stats would be if you were playing 36 minutes per game. Right, so it adjusts. The fuck, I just dropped this. So it adjusts your stats. So Richaun Holmes, for example, last season over 31 games was 7.4 and 5.7 rebounds per game. His per 36 is 15.5 and 11.9. I will say for Holmes, right? 5.7 rebounds in 7.2 minutes a game is pretty good, considering we have, we watched Miles Turner play 30 minutes a game in the finals and not even average 6 rebounds. So in 17 minutes a game, and the way some of these bigs are, if you're a team that needs some rebounds, and you have a contract to give out, then maybe you could look towards Richaun Holmes. But at the same time, when it comes to the per 36, right, here's something to consider also. It's very easy to, like, he's playing 17 minutes a game, so roughly half, right? So roughly half of the 36. It's very easy to double it, right? Like, if a player has 30 and 8 in the first half of a game, logic would say that player is going to have 60 and 16 by the end of the game, right? But it never actually happens like that. And the same thing with the per 36. I get that there are some exceptions. There are obviously some exceptions to this, right? There are players where when you put them in certain scenarios, their numbers really do balloon. But there's also a reason why players don't play 36 minutes a game. Right? There is a reason why. I mean, we saw this with Jordan Poole, for example, where averaging 20-something next to Steph, Clay, and Draymond, logic says he goes to one of the lower teams in the Wizards. Logic says he might get to 28, even 30 a game, and that's just not the way it shook out. That's why I think sometimes the per 36 could be a little bit misleading. But like I said, just looking at his numbers for what it is in 17 minutes per game, 5.7 rebounds compared to the field, it's not bad. You could work with that, right? If you're a team that could use a couple extra rebounds a game, if you're looking at the numbers and going into next season, you're like, all right, we're average. We're expecting to average, 55 rebounds, 45 rebounds, and we want to get to 50 or 60 or whatever that number is for that team. Maybe you choose to get someone like him and say, let's see if you can get 7 rebounds a game in 20 minutes for us, right? Maybe that's what that conversation looks like. And in my opinion, if that's what that conversation is, and he only played 31 games last year, he hasn't played more than 60 games since 2020, 2021. So that's also that's also something to consider. But if he can get you 60 games and 70 rebounds in like 20 minutes off the bench, I would think that's a solid pickup in my opinion. I know that was I know that was super long-winded. Let me see what you guys said. Man, like I seen Batman get beat up and walk like, is this man aura farming right now? To me, that's a bad trade. It's not a trade. They're free agents. The trade would be like Gabe and Maxi and one and first for Viggs. Oh, that'd be a better trade, yeah. I usually take away a rebound and 2 points per 36. That's one way to do it. If they could do all that, that would be good actually. Yeah, so Wendell and Angel are a thing. What do you mean by that? That was a great conversation that we just had right there. Look at it. Who but us talking about aura farming per 36 minutes? Chris Paul. Who but us? Who but in 37 minutes too? Look at us. Look at the range. Look at we got range on this, man. We got range for sure. What else do we got to talk about? Wendell Carter Jr. Wait, hold on. Wait, actually, maybe I'll save this. Actually, no, we're not gonna save this. Wait. No sticking to one topic. We keep it stepping. Wendell Carter and Angel Reed. Hold on. We gonna look into that real quick. We gonna get messy. Wait, hold on. Hey, I know Bruce about the. No, I don't know. I think Bruce might actually fuck with this convo. But did y'all see this?
What's up, y'all? It's your girl, Megan Thee Stallion, aka Hot Girl Coach, and I have been working out with my man. Okay, so first of all, we went to the gym and we was doing these things that his trainer had put us through. He said, lift this shit up. I really think that he thought that I could not do it, but I was very much so keeping up. So then we had to do these goddamn Russian twist ball thingamajigs, and I don't really like how he was throwing the ball to me because I feel like he was plotting on my downfall, wanting me to miss. Yo, I was what?
She was better than me.
Oh, okay. But my man came behind me and he had to start
Look at
spotting.
Klay Thompson. Look
A little heavy. I said, oh my God.
Look at Clay. Look, Clay. We see what you're doing, Clay. Clay. We can see you. Clay, you know we can see you, right? All right, whatever.
Clay,
Whatever.
come help me. Okay, so this
Clay, we can see
now
you.
this right here, I'm
Clay, we can see you, Clay.
not really sure if I needed.
Her.
Okay, I
I'm
don't think.
spotting you.
Okay, babe, I don't think I needed that much assistance, but I think that was his favorite part of the workout. So then the next day we had came through, and I had put him through an ab workout,
Oof.
and I don't really think that he liked that too much.
You hear Clay in the background talk about oof.
Oof, it was hard,
Yeah,
babe.
this was the grinder.
You
right
see how
here.
he
This
passed
would
out a
put me
little
through
bit?
The ringer, baby. This was tough.
What's up, y'all? It's your girl, Megan Thee
Hey man, listen. we got the real splash, brother. I'm so sorry. Hey, listen. Listen, Steph. We get it. Steph, we get who you are. We get what you've done. But Klay Thompson might be the real splash, brother. Yo, Clay. Yo, Clay. Yo, that's some diabolical shit, Clay. The fact that even she was like, I ain't need no assistance on that workout. He's like, yeah, you do. Hey man, we gotta put some respect on Klay Thompson's game, man. He's like, listen, my game on the court, yeah, but off the court, He's like, off the court, we doing our thing. He is having an off season. He's having an off season for sure. Uncle Clay need to chill. Megan is this that really bothered me. She deserves to be in jail. Nobody should be able to be like that, to lie like that. And Clay gonna be a minus 11 all year. He did just hit 72 threes in a row during a workout. So he might really be getting to work. He might really be getting to work. I said it last year. I wonder if he got offended, and obviously his performance also was a factor, but I wonder if he got offended that, you know, Luka went down and it was him and Kyrie, and no one was like, oh, they're gonna be all right, or Clay and Kyrie, or Kyrie and Clay got this, right? That was not the narrative, that was not the conversation, and then obviously the trade happened and so on and so forth. But you know, Clay being the multi-time All-Star, multi-time All-NBA player should be able to help carry the team, right? And him shooting well and scoring is a big part of that. And him also playing well will help someone like Cooper Flagg, Anthony Davis, D'Angelo Russell. He'll open the floor up for these guys. So hopefully he's shooting on and, you know, on the court, and he's obviously shooting off the court. Cause like, dog, the camera, right? We can see you. Why is Reggie Miller in the top 75 but not Clay when he's literally better at everything and a multiple time champion? Let's take a look at it. All right. Let's see. And you're talking about and the top 75 ranking, similar to the Bleacher Report, the 100 list. I think they're graded kind of similarly. Wait, he was only on all defensive team. Oh, he only got one all defensive team. All right, so the way the rankings are ranked, and this is according to Gilbert Arenas, right? It's a point system where yeah, even the official NBA 75, that's why, you know, Kobe was ranked where he was, and some of these things are because it's a point system, right? MVPs give you the most points. All NBA first teams give you the most the second most. All NBA second team. And then defensive player of the year, all NBA third team, and all of those things, right? And so in this scenario, and granted, I think a lot of players think Klay Thompson should be in there. I think he should be in there. But the reason I think that they came up with 5-time All-Star, 2-time All-NBA player, 2018-19 All-Defensive Team. Reggie Miller is a 5-time All-Star and a 3-time All-NBA player. I think the 3-time All-NBA in their eyes, if you're comparing these two, is what pushes Reggie Miller over Klay Thompson in their eyes. I'm curious what their totals are in comparison. And the NBA championship, as we've discussed before, it's weighed very differently because Klay Thompson was not the number one option on that team. And when you look at totals, 16,000 points for Klay Thompson versus 25,000 points. Being part of the 25,000 point club is very significant. The 20,000 point club and obviously the 25,000 point club gets even smaller. In an NBA, which was obviously very different. He was on MVP votings. Klay was on an MVP voting one time. Well, and the way and the way that they rate all defensive teams, right? Because let's give an example, right? Like if an all defensive team, let's take this year's all defensive team. Excuse me. The fuck is a quintet? All right. So all defensive teams, right? So the not defensive player of the year, all defensive teams, right? The all defensive second team, Tumani Kamara, Rudy Gobert, Jaren Jackson Jr., Jalen Williams, Ivica Zubac. All defensive first teams, Dyson Daniels, Lou Dort, Draymond Green, Evan Mobley, Amen Thompson. And hear me in this, right? And this was Gilbert Arenas says this is their explanation for why they don't grade all defensive teams that highly. Would you consider these 10 players some of the 10 best players in the entire league? Not as a defender, as an overall player. Would you consider these 10 players in the top 10 to 15 to 20 players in the NBA? And for the most part, year in and year out, the answer to that is no. Right? Lou Dort, you know, these guys are excellent players. You know, these guys are excellent players, talented, good players, but they're not. All NBA is considered the best players in the league. It's harder to get on an all NBA team than it is to get into an all-star team, right? So that's how their point systems work when it comes to all defensive teams, right? Just to give a little bit of clarity, that's why Klay Thompson's his stats, right, his individual stats aren't weighed in comparison to other guys. And I think the thing that the NBA also doesn't like doing is they don't like taking people out. They just want to add guys. So that is also an issue, right? If we could, all right, we're gonna build a top 75 team. Everyone is in the pool. Right? It's not everyone that was in the top 50 has to stay and we're adding 25, right? Personally, I think it should get every single time it should get, it should get reshuffled. But they do it yearly and it's pretty much been consistent year in and year out. And depending on what accolades players get over the years, it moves them up, but it's very difficult to do. Is Draymond top 75? No, he's not. That's what I think you were trying to say there. One more All NBA is worth more than 4 chips. Not to mention Reggie was not a good defender at any point. But if you look at even that top 75 list, if the chips were really worth that much, Bill Russell would be number 1. And the players he was against in Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and mainly Wilt Chamberlain, those guys are ranked ahead of him because of their individual accolades. Like Wilt Chamberlain has less championships than Bill Russell, but he's ranked higher than him. Oh, the other thing that gets ranked very highly, scoring champ. Scoring champ gets ranked very highly, and that's why on all of these lists, Michael Jordan is still ranked above LeBron in all of these lists. The issues they have cemented the top 50 from the first 50 years, so he won't take them out. Respect to those older guys, but no way some of them are top 75 over Kyrie or Clay or Dwight. Yeah, that's facts. That's what I was just saying too. Yeah, we're on the same boat with that one. Zubac is solid, but how did he get into the all defensive team? Nope. Wait, what the hell did you just say right there? I felt like I just had a stroke trying to read what you just said there before, Elijah. Is the name you got caught on, Zubac? But yeah, that, just to explain that also, like that's why Michael Jordan is ranked so high above everybody, right? The amount of scoring titles he won, because a scoring title, you are against the entire field, right? You're against the field, right? Everyone is in that. Everyone can try to go and get that. That's ranked very highly, despite some of the NBA media trying to downplay scoring. It's still the most important thing in the game, your ability to score. And unfortunately for LeBron, despite being having the most total points of all time in the NBA, he has one scoring title, and on one other occasion, he led the league in total points. So over his 22-year career, despite totaling the most points of all time, in any given season, he was only the best scorer one time, and another time, if you were to do it by points, which they don't, they do it by average. Meanwhile, Jordan was putting up 2,400 points damn near every year. And then you pile on the MVPs, the defensive player of the year. It's just, he's unbeatable. Michael Jordan is just unbeatable. Now there's some fun convos. Let's see. Let's get to this, because there was obviously the viral clip going around of the comparison between Tracy McGrady and Kobe and the Gilbert Arenas quote and so on and so forth. If Bron only focused on scoring, he'd have won it many times. Other scorers don't have his creation load. And listen, this obviously isn't his fault necessarily, and we've talked about this before. Unfortunately, I think some players find out some of this information too late, right? Like if somebody would have told LeBron, hey, you got to get X amount of scoring titles, you got to stay on one team. Like if somebody would have told him what the exact blueprint is to beat Michael Jordan, he probably goes about his career differently, right? And we also got to take into account, let's be honest, we also got to take into account personality, right? LeBron James, by all accounts, in terms of the game, was never the I'm gonna score 30 points a game at the way Michael Jordan was, right? That was just his mindset and mentality. And unfortunately for LeBron, right, he doesn't have assist champions to supplement that. He doesn't have, people said they thought he would be the first player since Oscar Robertson to get, to have a season averaging a triple-double, and that just never panned out, even through his prime. So some of these things, he's like one of those players. He's a jack of all trades. He's just not a master at one thing. Is the best way that I can kind of summarize it. His creation load. I think that really was a pause. I'm not gonna lie. Not facts. Bron, nothing Bron can do will put him in people's good graces. They've been saying same thing since he started. Hey, and not for nothing, like Kobe. That's why like people were up in arms about the Kobe thing. That's what happens with his career, right? Like his accolades, individual accolades, unfortunately, doesn't all the way stack up. Like when you compare it in comparison to like Michael Jordan, for example, in terms of the amount of MVPs, scoring titles, like some of it just doesn't stack up. And he goes and wins 3 rings earlier on in his career, and I'm sure at times of his career he was thinking, God damn it, if I would have had those 3 years to just go crazy and average 30 some, like I would be ranked higher. I'm sure that at some point probably crossed his mind, and that's why the situation happened in LA, where he's like, I'm gonna leave because I got 3 rings and I'm not ranked where I'm supposed to be ranked, right? At that time, right? We're talking about at that time in 2002, 2003, with 3 rings, Kobe, I think he realized he wasn't ranked where he was because he didn't have the individual accolades to go with it. But that's probably a good segue. Let's take a listen to what Shaq had to say on this Kobe, T-Mac, Gilbert Arenas situation.
Right. I'm arrogant enough to say I can get 1 by myself. 3 by myself? No way. Right. And when I left, he struggled to get back. And then what they did, they brought in 2 7-footers to equal what I was doing, which helped him get 2 more. So what Gilbert said was correct, but I think it was taken negatively. And a lot of jocks. Oh, yeah, you got 3, but you got 3 because of Shaq. And I hear the same thing. Oh, yeah, you got 3 because of Kobe. Like I see posts all the time. Oh, y'all say Shaq carried Kobe. And they put Kobe stats in when he averaged more than me. He carried each other. 1-2 punch. I've never seen a fighter in a long time just knock out a person with 1 hand. And I've seen them all. I've seen them set you up, and then boom. And then sometime they set you up, and then boom. That was us. 1 game, I'm going to do this. 1 game, he going to do that. 1 game, we both going to do it. When it come time that we need it, I'm going to do it, and he going to do it. And what T-Mac said was correct, too. Think about that all the time. You switch our positions. Well, let me ask you, you think I could have got 3 with T-Mac in a row?
No.
Let me go on record and say T-Mac was a bad motherfucker. Yeah. But see, you got to understand, when you T-Mac out there by himself, he don't really have room to operate. Our guy had room to operate because I got 3 people on me. Right? I got 3 people on me.
Yeah.
T-Mac, double, quadruple, triple team. Kobe, and Kenny Smith said this all the time. Kobe didn't get double and triple team a lot. He was free to roam around and do all that stuff. So what T-Mac said, I believe to be true, because T-Mac was a bad boy. What Gilbert said, I believe to be true. It was just construed probably negatively. And that's a good thing about conversations. But what? He not, but T-Mac was a bad boy. By far, T-Mac was a bad boy. Like, always tell.
All right, man. What y'all think? What y'all saying right now? Stay out of the sun, Shaq. I'm weak. Pookie, my glorious king. What's good, Derpy? What's good? Has anyone truly won by themselves? No, absolutely not. It never has and never will. It never has and never will. Kobe pushed Shaq. T-Mac would have hung out with Shaq. Here's the thing. Right? Here's the thing that I think. Here is the thing, and T-Mac was my favorite player growing up. He was 100% my favorite player growing. I tried shooting like T-Mac when I first started. When I was like, and my dad was like, "What the fuck are you doing? Like, you can't shoot. Like, he's 6'8". Like, you can't do that." And even he said recently, even T-Mac said, he's like, "I think I could have won with Shaq one ring." He didn't go out and say I would have done the same thing Kobe did with him and win 3 and da 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 da, because Kobe was different, right? A huge reason, a huge part of why they won 3 rings was because Kobe was never satisfied. And even though Shaq was leading that team, over the course of those 3 championships, the split became more even. And by the end of it, Kobe was starting to try to take majority lead of that team, if you guys understand what I'm saying. And like I just said, I think he started to understand, fuck, they're using these 3 championships against me because I'm not going out there scoring 30 something a game early in my career like I'm supposed to. And he understood that in his pursuit of greatness and legendary status. But I think a huge part of why they won 3 was just Kobe's drive. I'm not gonna lie to you. I genuinely do believe that. Kobe pushed Shaq. T-Mac would have hung out with Shaq. I do agree they may have win some rings or not win. Shaq is the kind of person that needs to be pushed or challenged. T-Mac is soft to me. T-Mac can't handle pressure. Sorry. I mean, his numbers went up in the playoffs. Like, if you look at T-Mac's averages, it went up in the playoffs. His teams were sorry. I'll just call it what it is. His teams were sorry. And he did come up short. He did come up short. He did come up short, you know, before too. But to Shaq's point, right? To Shaq's point, if you're talking about 2000, 2001, 2002, right? Like, Shaq gets to carry most of the burden on offense, right? T-Mac gets to play one-on-one basketball on the weak side. He gets to cut and slash. The game would have been a little bit easier for Tracy McGrady if he went up with Shaq. T-Mac numbers went up and his wins decreased, bro. Like, you got to see who he was. Like, he was playing with Bob Sura on the Rockets. Like, what am I supposed to do with this? His numbers went up because everybody else's numbers was going down. T-Mac had sometimes more talent around him than Kobe and LeBron when. Not on Orlando, he did not. Never, not one time in Orlando. And in Houston, that year where it was him, Ron Artest, and Yao Ming, I will agree. I will agree. That year, that's a lot of talent, but more talent than Kobe and LeBron. Dude was 3-1 against the Pistons, the team that won the championship too, by the way. That team won the championship. And started choking after talking trash. That Orlando Magic team was trash. He never played with Grant Hill. I'm dying on this T-Mac Hill. I'm not saying he's a top GOAT all time, but he also he lacked a lot of help. He lacked a lot of help, and I think they could have because Shaq would have been the lead, that they could have won a championship because it would have taken a lot of burden off of Tracy McGrady. He would have been more free. Sometimes things just don't work out. It's not always the matter of someone not having something. Dude was up 3-1 against the Mavs, went up 2-0 on the road and choked. Hey, listen, we don't talk about that, man. We don't. Those are some bad times against the Mavericks. Listen, I'll give you those are some dark times for me. Those are some dark times for me. I will say, because I got more cope. T-Mac had already been dealing with injuries ever since he was in Houston. I don't give a fuck. He been dealing with injuries all throughout Houston. That's all I got. Look at Braun's first Cavs run. T-Mac had better teammates than Braun did and never achieved anything in the playoffs. Shaq would have called him out just like he did with Penny. T-Mac, a Timu Hall of Famer. Whoa, 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 whoa. A Timu Hall of Famer is fucking crazy, bro. T-Mac is in the Hall of Fame of choking. Now we're dragging it. Yeah, listen, Black Canadian is him apparently. No, Elijah's him. You are literally comparing T-Mac to what some say is the greatest of all time, being like he fell short. He's not even close to that either. Like, off of just talent and eye test, yeah, can he play with them? But in terms of actual accolades, no. I've always thought that players like T-Mac brought down the value of the Hall of... First of all, you said half of game. Listen, I am not accepting T-Mac slander on this on this channel. I am not accepting any T-Mac slander. I'm not accepting any T-Mac slander. We're not saying he's the greatest of all time. He was just a bad dude. He was nasty. There was a stretch. It didn't last long, but there was a stretch where they were questioning who was better, him or Kobe, right? And that was part of, I think, why Kobe was getting annoyed, because he's like, I got 3 rings and you guys are comparing me to this guy with no rings. And I think that's when he started to understand the value of the rings isn't what they say it is, right? To be honest, he's not a Hall of Famer for any reason other than people loving his game. I mean, I think in all fairness, in his short period of... Out of the 15 years that he played, and honestly, it's less than that because those last couple years those were not real years. But 7-time All-Star, 7-time All-NBA, 2-time scoring champ. You know, in his short time, I think a lot of people are looking at him like what if T-Mac or VC? I'm taking T-Mac. I always thought he was better than Vince Carter personally. Kobe and T-Mac comparison should never happen because T-Mac never played half the defense that Kobe played. See, even that, I feel like T-Mac's defense was always underrated. Vince, Black Canadian, VC has longevity and T-Mac has peak. I always thought T-Mac was better. I just always thought T-Mac was better. 7-time All-NBA, 2-time scoring champ, 7-time All-Star. Like I said, half of his career, he was an All-NBA. He was literally considered one of the 2-3 best shooting guards, small forwards in the NBA for half of his career. And I think so. All right, here's the question then. Does Derrick Rose get Hall of Fame? Real question. Does Derrick Rose get Hall of Fame? I rate VC higher overall because he was able to transform his game and be useful forever. T-Mac was injured. T-Mac was injured. No. No one is saying T-Mac is close to Kobe now. In 2000, 2003, like that was a real conversation at the time. No one's saying now. So Derrick Rose absolutely deserves Hall of Fame. What does everyone else think? Well, what does everyone else think? What does everyone else think on Derrick Rose? Derrick Rose obviously has the MVP. 3-time All-Star, 1-time All-NBA player. But again, like we're talking about a 7-time All-NBA player, meaning for 7 years, I am one of the 15 best players in all of the NBA. I'm one of the 3 best players in my position for 7 seasons versus Derrick Rose, who obviously was the most valuable, the best player in 1 season, but was also, well, that was the same year it was All NBA. There are no other years, but you guys are saying he should be legit Hall of Fame over Tracy McGrady. I get he was the youngest MVP of all time. It's still one MVP. Like I saw somebody saying like Steph got a unanimous MVP, which is great. It still counts as one MVP. Like if you're comparing like Steph and Magic, for example, Steph got 2, Magic still has 3 MVPs. T-Mac is like a Big Mac. Looks good sometimes, but tastes nasty. We don't get anything like that for T-Mac other than he was as good as Kobe at one point. Yeah, but I'm just curious why everyone is getting so upset about that Kobe T-Mac thing. Like nobody is actually saying he's better than Kobe. Like it's just not a real thing. He's borderline, injuries messed it up. Don't his numbers still meet criteria? I think both should. I'm also gonna look at this. I think both should. The accolades alone, gamers, the Hall of Fame, because historically he's the youngest MVP. I don't have D-Rose Hall of Fame actually. It means a lot more than a lot of people's MVPs. I know, but hear me out, Black Canadian. Like when we're actually trying to rank and compare these guys, if we start doing that to every MVP, and granted context matters, right? Right, I get that. But if we start doing that, then all of a sudden none of these numbers matter. Like he got 1 MVP. He was the most dominant player in 1 season compared to one guy in Tracy McGrady who for 7 years was dominant. But you're saying he's devaluing the Hall of Fame. So the one guy who for 7 years was considered one of the most dominant, one of the best players in the league, you're saying him being in the Hall of Fame dilutes it versus the one guy who has 1 unbelievable year. To me, that just don't add up to me. Even if you consider the fact that he's the youngest MVP. As just and I think they're both great. I'm just like I said, I pulled that out because we're talking about granted it's not 10-15 years of dominance, that's why you get to the higher ranks, but 7 years of an all NBA player, I think that's pretty damn good. Derrick Rose, no. Hall of Fame. Danny Green, KCB, no, they're not making no Hall of Fame. Derrick Rose should make the Hall of Fame mainly because T-Mac is there. T-Mac has made it where a lot of players should get in. If he wasn't in, it would be different. Sometimes not with Rose, though. Him before and after ACL are different players. Rose was a bad defender. T-Mac was solid. Was he injured against Dallas? Just like the narrative, he choked against the Mavs. We're not talking about that's not even that. That don't even matter right now, Bruce. Okay, but what I'm saying is, do his even match up to T-Mac's numbers? Like that's what I'm curious about. That one MVP versus 7 years of dominance. Because I'm sure if we go down the list, if we start picking out names, there are guys with 2-3 All NBAs. I'm sure once you get to 5, 6, 7 All NBA selections, those numbers start dwindling down. Bad defenders are thrown around too loosely in the NBA conversation. It shouldn't be good enough to be in the Hall of Fame. The Basketball Hall of Fame has always been very soft in who they let in. I think a good amount of players shouldn't be there, not just T-Mac. That's fair. Bruce rage baiting for Derek. He's a narrative Hall of Fame. Oh, okay. I'm glad. Okay, I'm glad. Okay, I feel you. Listen, I wouldn't be mad if Derrick Rose get in the Hall of Fame. I think a lot of players would probably love to see him on there. But again, right? Like I'm just like, even for, let's look at Vince Carter real quick. Even for Vince Carter, right? 8-time All-Star, 2-time All-NBA player. So only twice in his career, he was considered one of the 3 best players at his position, one of the most dominant players in the league, right? Compared to the 7 that T-Mac had. Now, just calling it what it is. He really not a narrative Hall of Famer. He's a Hall of Famer, period. Well, I think to what Black Canadian is saying, they're rating his MVP more because he was the youngest of all time, right? They're rating it, or he's expecting them to rate it even more because of that factor. Again, which is kind of a narrative. Will Chet ever win a Defensive Player of the Year? For me, all top 100 players should be Hall of Famer, including T-Mac. Will Chet ever win a Defensive Player of the Year? I think he could. He'll have a hard time with Wemby, though. Like, VC realistically is in there because he played for forever and he got the dunk contest as MJ comparisons. Yeah, but again, like I feel like that would be dilute. Like, is that not diluting it? That because he was there for a long time, he was never the most. He wasn't considered the most dominant player for a long stretch. That's actually a crazy statement. You don't honestly understand the work and impact of basketball these guys put in. You just question Vince. Too soft. Wait, what do you mean? Who question? Wait, huh? What happened? Wait, what? What happened with Vince? I'm confused. What happened with the Vince Carter thing? Rose is not a Hall of Famer. Imagine doing your job well one day of the month and wanting Employee of the Month. I'm Toronto and love VC, and that dude was not a Hall of Famer. He was great. Like I said, Vince Carter is great, but when you start looking at some of these accolades, I do think, and to your point, Black Canadian, it's funny enough, Tracy McGrady might be the borderline. he might be the line where you teeter, right? Because again, maybe 7 is considered a significant amount of someone's career. What's considering the average career of these players, right? Of these stars, and maybe that threshold changes because players are starting to play longer, right? But again, I also Tracy McGrady bias, no shame. See, y'all don't watch these guys. Carter, bruh, you saying Rose work 1 day a month is not accurate. You get what he was trying to say. Again, like I said, cool. You could give me the backstory of the thing. It's one MVP. No, like I'm not trying to have that come off a certain way, but it is one MVP that we're talking about. Um, that don't mean the guys weren't good, right? We know the reasons as to why, injuries and whatnot, but one MVP. Again, like the Steph Curry Magic Johnson convo, right? On who's better. Like the Steph Curry Magic Johnson convo. Some people are, having that convo, but when you look at some of the accolades still, like okay, Steph got the unanimous MVP, but Magic still has one more MVP than him. Like that does not mean I'm a good at job. Who y'all replacing them with? Who is better than these guys? Who we putting in? They play. What are you talking about, Elijah? What you mean, Elijah? I'm confused as to what you're arguing right now. Explain to me what you're arguing. Vince getting in the Hall of Fame because he can dunk and dunked on French guy, to me is not a Hall of Famer. He underachieved. He definitely underachieved and quite on one franchise that believed in, and quit on one franchise that believed in him. Yeah, that's what I'm confused about. We're just talking about like Hall of Fame. It's not a ranking. Like I'm just pulling comparable accolades and some numbers. Because like I said, just going off what Black Canadian said earlier, if people say half the people do not deserve to be in the Hall of Fame, so who does? That's my argument. Again, I think over the years, there's obviously been some guys who have gotten it because they've had great careers or because they meant something, right? Or right, like those, like some people, like a Bill Walton who didn't have a long career. Like some of these guys are in there, despite having some of these accolades. And just talking about, like T-Mac, for example, like I'm arguing, I think he should be in it. 7-time All-NBA, 2-time scoring champ. Those are, in my opinion, accolades that could get you in there. We take dudes out and just make them Hall of Fame way more special. Dame did more than T-Mac and Vince Carter. I don't think Holiday is a top 10 perimeter defender anymore. We are all over the place today. The Hall should be way more exclusive. I agree. I think it should be, but it just is what it is. Like, I understand that the Hall of Fame isn't the NBA Hall of Fame, which is why some Euro players are in there, but still. And Canadian just said we don't need to put anyone in the place, but then nobody would be getting in. AC, who's AC? Are you talking about VC is better than Kai and Kyle Lowry? But so if the best players don't get in, what case does a Dame? I'm not gonna lie, bro. I don't know what you just said right there. The Basketball Hall of Fame is too easy to get in. Yeah, I think they do, like they give exceptions to certain guys. Bro, I don't know what you just said there, Elijah. Though I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna lie to you. Let me see. Kyle Lowry is a Hall of Famer over VC and T-Mac. To be honest, yeah, no. Yeah, no. Yeah, no. No. I don't think so either. 6-time All-Star though. Oh, because you're saying NCAA and NBA. I see what you're saying. I think, listen, I think all those guys, you can make a case to Tulip Play's point, right? You can make a case. You can create a story to make them in it. But if you disagree, you just don't understand the Basketball Hall of Fame. Okay, yeah, no, I get that. Being one of the greatest in the game is now not enough, is what I'm saying. Vince is just a plain better player than majority of the NBA players in its history. So if he doesn't make it, what's the case? But Elijah, during the time he played, only 2 times he was considered one of the top 15 best players in the league. Only twice. Compared to Tracy McGrady, who, like I said, was 7 times. Tracy McGrady was great. Not Tracy McGrady. Vince Carter was great. Honestly, he was great. I don't know. In terms of dominance, I just don't know if it's there. It's borderline. And it's stupid. Nobody flinched at Bullies because he deserved to be in. People picking on Vince. Who? If you got nothing tangible to show for how good you were, it doesn't matter. But that's precisely the issue with the Hall of Fame. Hey man, I'll take 7 years of dominance for show. I'll take 7 years of dominance for show. Robert Jory deserving of Hall of Fame. Like, what are we talking about? Robert Horry? Wait, wait, hold on. Wait, hold on. Wait. You just said Robert Horry is deserving of a Hall of Fame? Bro, I don't think Robert Horry gets in no Hall of Fame. No All-Star games, no All NBAs, not yeah, Robert Horry not get. He don't deserve to be a Hall of Famer in my opinion. I remember him missing the shot against the Sixers. When else? When he missed the shot at the 3 against the Sixers in 0-2 LMAO, best time of my life as a VC fan. I'm dead. I'm dead. I remember I went to I don't know if I told this story. I probably told this story before, but I went to a Nets Sixers game back in the day, and the only jersey I had at the time was the red and gold Houston jersey, red and gold T-Mac Houston, here. Excuse me. I had this guy. This is the only jersey I owned. I had this guy. Right? We were going to the Nets. We were going to the Nets Sixers game. Vince Carter and Allen Iverson end up having 40 each. I was getting cooked for having a Tracy McGrady jersey. They're like, he's not even playing. Da 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 da. Good times. But now to transition a little bit, we'll transition a little bit. We'll transition to, we'll transition to the W right now. We'll transition to the W because, according to Gilbert Arenas, all of these women are trying to look like Allen Iverson. According to Gilbert. Everyone is trying to be everyone's trying to look like Allen Iverson. Is Michael Cooper deserving? Probably not. He was on the Lakers, right? In my opinion, probably not. Yeah, yeah, yeah. To me, no. I mean, he's in there. I don't think he should be in there. Michael Cooper definitely deserving. Nah, facts. Hey, y'all. Hey, hey, man. Hey, let's. Kennedy was looking and playing like AI. They kick her out the league. SMA. Okay, Michael Coop. Yes, Vince. No. But we'll talk about a couple things. Let's look at some of the highlights. Let's give, let's give this league some love, man. Let's give this league some love. So this is the skills.
Time of 37.5 seconds from the New York Liberty, Natasha Cloud.
Here we go. There's money on the line.
Yo,
There's
I'm
a
not
trophy.
gonna lie. She been cooking for the Liberty this year too. She been cooking for the Liberty this
On the
year too.
line. Natasha Cloud needs to be 37 and a half seconds. Oh, cool, calm, and collected with
Yeah.
speed. Tosh, bullet pass through. How about the three? That one's no good. The second is good. To the elbow she goes. Cloud
Yeah.
in and out, right back to the elbow. That one is into the corner with 15 seconds
she
remaining.
missed all these, actually.
Able to avoid Darth Maul,
Very
but couldn't
Allen
hit the
Iverson,
first.
like, missing all
The
of these.
second won't go. Running out of time. Cloud with 7 seconds left. The chest pass is in. The layup with 2, with 1. Cloud
Look at
beats
that
the
on the
buzzer.
buzzer. On the buzzer. Since 2019, they're guaranteed a spot. Y'all standards are too high. Cloud9 is a fire name and jersey combo. It's funny. Cloud9 is actually an esports organization, which is funny. It's a good name.
Sabrina
the three-point
Ionescu.
contest. So let's take a
Let's
look at
hear
this.
it.
Now, Sabrina talked to us about the performance in Vegas, the pressure that she felt in Indianapolis with Steph Curry performing in front of 55,000 fans at Lucas Oil. She said she feels like it's a breath of fresh air today. On that rack, she just missed more than she missed her entire final round in Vegas in 2023.
She
Sabrina's money rack. Ionescu
crazy.
up to 7. How about a starry ball? In and out. Needs to hit 20 to avoid elimination. Ionescu starting to find her groove. From straight on. Sabrina on the money ball.
Wait, is this not the
is
30?
up to 12. This would be big. It's in.
Am I blasted?
15 for Ionescu. Her teammate Stewie watching. Ionescu finding that groove. How about this money ball? You bet.
Yeah, she was shooting,
Sabrina up
bro.
to 20. Into the
She
corner
was
she
shooting.
goes. Trying to punch a ticket to the final. Needs one more. She has it. Sabrina Ionescu
She
will
was
be in
shooting,
the finals.
dog. She was fucking shooting, man. That part was really cool because that's obviously what they do really well. Like, these women shoot at a very high level. Oh, her 30 was the final? Oh, let's watch that then. Let's watch that. Let's see. I could have sworn it was the first round. Her 30 was the final? Bro, different. I could have sworn it was the first round. Uh, the standards have to be Sabrina is who they think CC is. I mean, I also think they're very different players, right? I also think they're very different players. Her 30 was the final. Let's peep the 30 because she was going crazy.
This is the first two here. Hits the next three. Off to the wing and the money ball rack. Ionescu
She is
connects.
shooting.
Another Sabrina dialing in. That's 6 in a row.
Yeah, and the 37. Didn't she do that in the NBA All-Star game too? Right? Didn't she like set the record or some
That's
shit?
7. We've seen this before. Ionescu, you can.
Bro, she
Do we
was
have deja vu
shooting.
developing? Ionescu electrifying. Finally misses after
that was
11 in a
the
row.
37 wasn't in the
Ionescu
All-Star,
putting
the
up a
NBA All-Star game.
monster performance. Oh my! Sabrina Ionescu, just ridiculous again. From the wing, starting to slow a bit. How about the money ball? She got it at 28 already. Ionescu, this is absurd. She is the master of this contest.
And by the way too, she had also said that she's splitting half. She also said that she's giving half of her winnings to Sonia Cintron, the rookie that participated in the event, as her thank you, right? To say, shout out to you for even pulling up to the event. So that was super classy on Sabrina's part. And then we obviously had, the All-Star game the following evening. Yep, she gave half of it. We'll get to that. I want us to get to the positives, and we'll have a little bit of a more serious conversation a little bit after. But let's take a look at some of the highlights from this game as well too.
Game firing away and knocking it down. We're talking with the head coach of Team Collier, Cheryl Reeve, before the game, and she said, we've got some really competitive players in there that was trying to give it to you. Chores were determined by who hit more shots out of the back. Brother Dan, sister Lauren were there, along with Kelsey's mother. Here's Sabrina.
I mean, like they could really shoot, man. That's they just do that at a super high level. Game wasn't great. I think both teams were very transparent that they were there to just kind of have a good time and have fun, and it's very different from the game that they had last season, which was against the Olympic team. Nafisha Collier ended up with the MVP, right? Her team won 151 to 131. And Fee had 36, 9, an assist. Shot 81.3% from the field, 6 of 6 from the line, 4 of 5 from 3. Again, let's go with some of the positives, right? Let's go with some of the positives. The Stud Buds was really fun to watch online. All of their clips, all of the parties, them being out in town, all of the other players getting on their live stream. That was really cool. The fits, the coverage. I thought some of the content over the weekend for these women was great and very needed, very, very, very needed. So I thought that was important. Oh shit, breaking. It only helps the trolls when they do this. All right, but Black Canadian, like, we gotta be honest. We gotta be honest too, Black Canadian. To expect that out of the women when the men don't play hard during their All-Star game either. I'm just trying to be fair in that respect. But again, I personally, right? Personally, and we'll get into this in just 1 second. I genuinely enjoyed the marketing of pushing these women enjoying and having fun. Right? I think that needs to be highlighted because for so long it was all about respect me as an athlete, and having to be a little bit more macho. And I think what we've seen is the women that have kind of leaned into their, the being more feminine or just being feminine, they are being marketed like like an Angel Reese is, right? So, I think the positiveness of them having fun, the stud buds, I think all of those things are positive. The game is obviously something that can be worked on, but I can only say so much because we're dealing with the same shit in the NBA, right? We're just dealing with the same shit in the NBA. um, all right, let's see. Liberty building a super team. Yeah, they are. The WNBA should lean into streaming for engagement. Facts. Also, the rules encourage shot chucking and no defense, 4-point circle, and auto free throws. I get it, but still, the women have a point they want to prove, so I just go out there and prove it always. They proved it in last year's game. It was cool, but it doesn't help their goal. These women are greedy, bro. Why shouldn't they be? They're trying to get paid on a league that is in debt. Owners are using any and everything to keep them at such a low percentile of revenue. To me, it's silly, men or women, to expect players to give full effort for their day off. People don't watch their regular season games. Just wait till the new TV deal on the $1 billion expansion team money comes through. All right, and this is where, we get into a little bit of the nitty gritty of what's come out of this. And I totally understand. I totally understand them wanting to have this conversation, right? Wanting to bring awareness to this. I just don't love the way it sort of came out, I guess, at least from the Kelsey Plum scenario. So let's watch this together and let's take a look at what she had to say.
Doug, raise your hand.
Let's see what this says. We sit with our families on Christmas Day work. There are no days off for the guys' All-Star break. It's the only true bait they get. So for us to expect them the ball to the wall, to me, is entitled. Toronto's going to save the league. Don't worry. Tell that to the women to wait. One of the biggest, and we haven't even gotten a roster. All right, let's watch this real quick because I think this was I do think that this is a little significant.
Doug Feinberg, the AP. Kels is a member of the executive council. Where did the idea for the shirts come from tonight, and how important you think they were with the game, the fans behind you at the end of the game, chanting and such?
Well, it was a very powerful moment. We didn't, at least as players, we didn't know that was going to happen. So I think it was kind of like a genuine surprise. But the T-shirt, just United Front, was determined this morning that we had a meeting for. And, not to tattletale, but...
Don't say not to tattletale and then proceed to tattletale. Like, don't. I'll let her finish.
0 members of Team Clark were very, not to tattletale, but 0 members of Team Clark were very present for that. But no, we were just, we had a very,
that really needed to be mentioned.
and Sabrina tried to make light of the moment, but I think she also kind of checked Kelsey Plum in a very mild way. Because that really didn't need to be mentioned.
I'm trying to make a situation light, okay?
And you are not making the situation light because she started this whole statement with, we need to be a united front. And that thing is the t-shirts that these women were wearing that said pay us what you owe us. And I think we can have an adult conversation about this, right? I think I think we are all adults enough to have an adult conversation about this. So I'll take a stab at it. I'll take a stab at it. Now, let me see. What did you guys say? They saw the men getting all that money and they want the same thing without overcoming the challenges the NBA faced over the years. You are living proof of the challenges they still face. The WNBA is the most trolled league in the world. Tulip plays. I will ask you, and I'm not saying that you don't, right? Let try to keep an open mind, and I'm also open to obviously y'all thoughts. Is not a livable wage, especially in major cities like NY or LA. But let's have a real conversation about this, right? Just give me a second. So the first thing is there is a misconception, right? There is a misconception. The WNBA players don't want to get paid as much as the men do. They don't think they should get paid as much as the men do. I think some of them get taken out of context because they're just speaking candidly on interviews or whatnot, but they don't expect that, right? Their issue is the revenue split, right? The revenue split is the issue that the WNBA players have. And what they're trying to fix in the CBA, because from my very small understanding, there's a particular number it has to hit. That number has to be 20% more than last year's number in terms of revenue, and then off of that is when they get the 50% split. And I understand them wanting to, and I've heard certain wording where they're saying they want to get a more fair split, right? Maybe not necessarily the 50% split that the men have in the NBA, but a more fair split, right? The other side of this is this league has never turned a profit. This league, since its inception in 1997, has never turned a profit. The reports last year is that the WNBA made $200 million in revenue, but lost $40 to $50 million. Let's see what you guys have to say. They don't even get a cut of their merch sales or jersey sales as well. They tried this before and some teams had to fold because the money was not there, but I am a hater. It's unfair, but if you understand the full story, it makes sense. The owners are just waiting for value before they engage in talks, but realistically, it shouldn't be as low as it is. To be clear, I want the women to be paid when the budget is balanced. Like they had even 25%, everyone would be happy. Before is not now. The league is about to take off. The money coming in is reaching $1 billion, not millions range. Oh, okay, and that's the next part I was getting into, right? I think the conversation needs to be clear because to your point, Tulip plays, they're negotiating what future money could look like, right? Because there's more money coming in, which is great. If this WNBA is continually operating at a loss and we give the players a larger split of the revenue, which we are losing money on, even with the CBA agreement, who's to say that the WNBA is going to be successful? Granted, we have these 2 years of great success, but it's still only 2 years. It's not a large it's not a large a table of success. So that's why I think some of these teams are still hesitant to give more of a split. But and I'm gonna get to that, and I'm gonna get to that, Tulip Plays. I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad you're gonna get. I'm glad. I'm about to get there. Just give me a second, y'all. The Clark does not play rating go down or tickets do not sell. It's not our job. League depending on one player is not a success. Then why do I have a better fundamental than some players there? Operating at a loss. They would be paying the WNBA entire. Now we have the CC and Angel Boom. If the WNBA was smart, they would have Paige Beckers as a marquee star like they should. It's about projecting, not reflecting. Paige should be everywhere. But I think some of the projections are a little bit off, Tulip Plays. And I'm glad you brought up Magic and Bird, because that was exactly what I was saying last week. This is the 28th season of the WNBA. I think we need to be comparing it to the 28th season of the NBA. Let's take a look at this.
This is Jess Smith, the president of Golden State Valkyries, the first WNBA expansion team since 2008. The San Francisco team will start playing in 2025. Toronto and Portland will be added to the league in 2026. Valkyries have already signed 15,000 season ticket deposits, the most in women's sports history. Pressure is high. The team paid $50 million just to join the league. The men's team, which is owned by the same family, has won 4 NBA championships in the past decade.
I really do consider pressure a privilege. We have big aspirations to be part of that financial upside
President of the Golden State Valkyries, by the
showing
way.
what's possible, not only with the number of seats that we have, but being really intentional about the experiences that we create.
But Smith says it's important not to compare the WNBA with the NBA, salaries or otherwise. They are inherently different products, she says.
The lifespan of the leagues, the number of teams, the number of athletes, the broadcast deals, it's just a different moment in time. In fact, when you do rewind to where the NBA was at the same moment in time for the W, they're more comparable. And so I think it's important to take note of that and to be aggressive, but charge our own path forward. That also doesn't mean we have to wait for things, but it does mean that we need time to grow.
So she said exactly what I was saying last week. I think we get a more fair comparison when we compare the 28th year of the WNBA, which is 2025, to the 28th year of the NBA, which was 1977. And in 1977, the average annual salary of an NBA player was $130,000. The average salary of a WNBA player in 2025 is $102,000, right? Obviously, 130 is more than 102. But what if you factor in the amount of games that they play? When you factor in the amount of games that they are playing, you're getting $102,000 divided by 44 games, and that's $2,300 a game versus $130,000 over a stretch of 82 games, which was $1,585 a game. And to your point, Tulip Plays, that boom happened in that decade after, from 1977 to 1989 was when we saw the boom of average annual salaries go from $130,000 to a little bit over $500,000 on average for players. And I was going to get to that. Inflation does matter. But like I said, That is a owner that just invested into this league that's saying you have to compare it to the same time frame. Granted, inflation matters, but I guess the point is it took the NBA a lot of time. It took 78 years for the NBA to get to $300 million contracts. Right? 78 years to get these $250, $300 million contracts compared to the 28th year of the WNBA. Now, like what the owner of the Valkyries there said, obviously you're not going to sit there and wait 50 years to get to that same point, right? The idea is we have more resources and more information. We can get to that number sooner, but the reality is it's going to take time. And what we're seeing with the NBA right now, right, with all of these balloon contracts, what did we just see the Boston Celtics do? They had to unload a bunch of contracts. The NBA, I think, is in a spot where they could potentially be paying players too much right now, and they're going to have a hard time affording some of these contracts. Right? I think that's the other side that the NBA is currently dealing with right now. And I think for the WNBA, they're obviously growing. They need to get their cut, but there needs to be a balance where they get their cut, but the WNBA still needs to be able to keep growing. Right? And I think that's what the conversation is. I wish there were numbers that they would throw out at us. I wish there was numbers that, and granted, I'm assuming they're not allowed to, but I think we could get behind it if someone gave us some tangible numbers, or we could, we could scream out those numbers more instead of just statements, in my opinion. But that's just my take on this. I absolutely think they need to get paid more. But I think we're also in we're also in a time where the WNBA is dealing with, they're learning how to deal with the growth of the league right now also, right? And I think security for these women, the protection and the security of these women needs to be priority, right? Dollars, dollars are going to go to that practice facilities, right? Like some of these things need to also get prioritized along with their contracts, in my opinion. Billionaire tycoons are fighting each other, paying $250 million for their teams to join the league. But hey, Bruce from YT says the league is operating at a loss, so it's not worth investing. You are saying these women shouldn't get paid more due to the bottom line loss, yet these billionaires know what's up and know their worth. I said it's not time to give them a raise. When did I say not to invest? You know what they do? They don't get paid, Cade, not even the most popular. It's very regular for me to see his jerseys, but I see damn near no WNBA jerseys. Your blinders are showing two plays. It is sad. When is it then? The next CBA is in 8 years. You want them to live on $70K for another 8 years while the billionaires get richer? You're getting personal now. You're giving off incel, to be honest, supporting employment slavery. Nobody's saying they should get millions, but at least medical insurance, livable wage, revenue sharing. That was the point that I was also going to add on to. I was just talking about security and the protection of these women. Insurance, right? When they're pregnant, like these things that men don't have to deal with, they need to be protected under. I think also, and correct me if I'm wrong, I wonder if more games would help. I wonder if more games would help, because these salaries would naturally go up if they're playing 10 to 15 more games. Instead of having to go into a whole different league, right? You get more, you get bigger contracts as you're playing more games. I definitely think I definitely think their numbers will go up. That average salary should, and I think it will go up. Um, Again, that 70K is also the rookie deal, right? That's the rookie deal. That's not the standard, right? There are some women making over $200,000 a year. And like I said, it's a process. Like, I'll put it this way. Wilt Chamberlain was scoring 50 a game and 20 rebounds a game and got a $250,000 contract, right? Imagine how he felt when Magic Johnson came in, and because of the boom, now he's getting paid $500,000 a year, right? It's just it's gonna go up. I think because right now we're in the middle of it day to day, and we can't wait till something happens. It just unfortunately takes time. I think the WNBA, like we said, is trying to figure all of this out, because the league also needs to be sustainable, right? Like, we need to be able to have a league that they could play in. You did first, so I got you back. Anywhere the ignorant will be ignorant. I made valid points. We can agree to disagree. But what do you think about, kind of the gist of what I've talked about, Tulip plays? I do think there's a middle ground, right? And I think that's why I'm trying to, the best that I can from my research, try to explain what this is. And like I said, I know inflation definitely matters, but we, just trying to draw a comparison, right, with the late 70s and the NBA, a similar time frame for, I think, where the WNBA is right now, and I think they're dealing with a lot of growing pains. Everything costs money, right? All of the cameras that they have to get for more, to put out more content, they gotta hire content teams. Like, everything costs money, and I think also here's the reality too, right? Insurance is fair and benefits like that, but again, the league already is losing money. You got personal calling me an insult. Hey, everybody, everybody chill out. Everyone. We're just having conversations here. What was I going to say? I think this is the part two. I think we're also seeing a shift in the way that the WNBA is getting marketed, right? I think I mentioned this earlier. For a long time, I think a lot of these women, and I think this might be a thing for women in sports in general, where, excuse me, I want you to respect me for my talent and my skills and my performance in the sport, not for my appearance, right? And so I think because of that, it was a lot more, even if, whatever their sexuality was, right, in the early WNBA, I think they were still positioning themselves to be not so feminine for everyone to see, because they wanted to get respected for the game. I think with Angel Reese and with all of these other women now stepping out with their outfits, I think we're seeing that being feminine is obviously marketable because women can relate to it. I think for a long time, there was this notion that we gotta market this to men, when that's not the WNBA's problem. Their problem is they need to market this game to women. The same way men will go to their girl and be like, I'm going to bring you to the game because we got to go to the next game. They need to make this marketable to the point where the women are bringing their boyfriend to the game. And that's how the men get into the game, right? Instead of the other way around. And I think with the stud buds, with all of the outfits, with Angel Reese, with all of these women creating content, making themselves more personable, I think it'll help grow this league a lot more. I think they need to change some of their merchandise, right? Like for example, in tennis, the women aren't wearing shorts like the men are. They got the skirts on, and I'm not saying the women need to be wearing skirts on the court. Please don't think I'm saying that. But the merchandise that they're selling so that the girls can come to the game, it doesn't necessarily have to be a jersey. Like they need to change up some of the merch and not just stick to the same merch that the men have, right? Like the women can operate, and you can have cardigans, like you can have, like, you know what I'm trying to say? You can have scarves, like you could sell other things that women will wear that aren't a jersey or a hoodie or sweatpants. They'll rock that too, but they need to open this up to where you get more creative, like the jersey, skirt, just something different. And I think they're slowly figuring that out, and I think it'll help grow this league. So, like I said, the 50-year gap is gonna get smaller because I think some of these women are opening up these doors. But again, I think it's growing pains. I agree with you, Jason. Imagine if this was a new CBA 2 years ago after Bird and Magic's debut, and people were saying, nah, it's a loss for the next 8 years. Stay on your 80K wage with no insurance. And granted, right, the other thing too, Tulip plays, maybe it's not gonna go from 102 on average to 500. Maybe it goes from 102 on average to 2-3 to 4, and then, you know, it's that's genuinely the hope, because I think if that's what's happening, then that means the business on the back end is growing also, so that this is a league that's sustainable for a long time. You get a trophy, you get paid, you get paid. There's no money. Finance 101, the W's marketing team is awful. They can literally go as far as makeup too, LMAO. Like, women will buy an Angel Reese blush or eyeliner. No, facts, right? Like all of that is open to women that men just, like, you know what I'm saying? So being creative with these brand deals, with these sponsorships, I think I think they are on their way, right? I will say Tulip plays, like I just said earlier, we could look back on the NBA and say from 1977 to 1987, the average went from 130 to 250, right? We're living in this in real time, right? And day to day, and I know it's gotta feel like forever, especially when you're fighting for something that you truly believe in. But like I said, it is going to take time. I agree. Obviously, a healthy bump over these new deals. But we're starting to see it. I think the $28 million deal to Caitlin Clark was obviously a huge step in the right direction. I think outside of just the salary, we're gonna see bigger dollar amounts go to these women in terms of sponsorship. Like, women will open the pockets of women and want it. And also, I think if there's more, what do you guys think? If there's more games, will that keep them in you know, stateside, instead of having to go play 20, 30, 40 games overseas? Also, you know, if they add another 10 to 15, eventually maybe 20 games, they get to 60 games a year. Would that benefit? I'm also wondering too, if the WNBA season bleeds into the beginning of the NBA season, if that would also be a benefit. A lot of questions. I think they would benefit greatly from hiring elite writers and tell the story of the NBA. D Rose was just a kid from Chicago. MJ, a kid that got cut but learned how to fly. The NBA has The Last Dance and Starting Five doc, where we learn the stories. What does the W have? But that's the thing too, Elijah, right? We're talking about money that has to get paid for. I think we're in a time right now where, unfortunately, because there isn't the infrastructure in place, these women they have to go and live stream themselves, right? They have to go do some of these things themselves because there just isn't the infrastructure in place for the WNBA to do that. Now, could a third party company be doing that? Could the Indiana Fever themselves be doing that for Caitlin Clark? Because I'm assuming them in particular, compared to some of these other teams, I'm sure the Indiana Clark has had, the Indiana Fever has made more money because of Caitlin Clark. Would it be smart for them to invest in camera crews to follow Caitlin and have this story, this narrative that they're growing over time? I think so, but only they know what their financial situation is right now. Also, even the storyline that gets built from year to year with the will the villain lose? Can the old Golden State Warriors still get it done, etc.? We like the NBA because the stories, and I can't tell you what W's story is. No need for more games. I think currently right now they're trying to write that, right. They're trying to piggyback off of the Larry Bird, Magic Johnson boom in the NBA with the Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese boom, right? And I think similar to then, there was also some racial undertones. As far as the story that the NBA told, up until they did the commercial together and they met each other's family, up until that point, that was when some of those racial undertones really stopped. But they were already competing for some time by then, and I think obviously the WNBA, they're dealing with these undertones in 2025 with all of the cameras, with everyone having access to the internet to post their opinion, kind of like what I'm doing. And so they're dealing with that just in 2025 instead of 1979, right? And that's just the unfortunate part of it for them. But I think this kind of is their story. This is their story, right? You had these great players in Breanna Stewart, Aja Wilson, all of these women, right? Sabrina Ionescu, right? Jewel Lloyd, right? All of these women who are unbelievable. And now you get a Caitlin Clark and an Angel Reese to boom it. Paige Beckers, Juju Watkins, they obviously have to flush that story out, but there's a story there. And absolutely, Angels all over the place. They could absolutely do that if they can't shame his hard work, but it's doable. I also think this year playing out the way that it has is an alley-oop for next season, right? Caitlin Clark having a terrible season, them underperforming as a team from what people expected. I was expecting Clark to have an unreal year. Obviously, injuries and whatnot have kind of sidelined that, but that plus Angel Reese having a better sophomore year than her, Paige Beckers coming out, I think these narratives and stories are going to carry into next season. And if Caitlin Clark comes out with the vengeance, it'll add to that story. So I think in terms of storylines, they're there. The NBA, the WNBA just needs to really flush these stories out. And I think it's doable. I think some of like I didn't love the Kelsey Plum statement, right? I will say I'm assuming that they know these finances a lot more than we do, right? It's possible because we've seen this before where businesses show that they're operating at a loss, even though they're operating and getting a profit, right? That is something that has happened before. I read a whole thread about it earlier. That's possible, and maybe that's why these women are so adamant about the finances, but only they know that. And like that's why I said numbers would really help. But regardless of how you feel about who, throwing Caitlin Clark and her team under the bus like that, I just didn't think was a great look. You know, I know that the NBA has had moments, because everyone's human, where, you know, guys shit on each other. But I do think that brotherhood is very alive and well in the NBA, and they protect each other. And I think that was a moment where I wish Kelsey Plum protected one of her own. Right? That's a conversation y'all could have had in private, but in public to everyone, y'all stand together. But you know that, you know, I'm not trying to tell anybody what to do, but that's just how I felt about that situation. But yeah, man, I think we handled this conversation pretty well. What do y'all think? What do y'all think? W? Could we get W's in the chat if that was if we handled that conversation positively? We tried to hit all, you know, all the different angles, right? You know, let me know what you guys think. But yeah, man, I think it was a necessary conversation, right? I think it was a necessary conversation. I think there's a lot of confusion on both sides, right? And we tried to lay some of that out, or most of that out, as much as we could. I think that's where a lot of this stems from, right? A lot of confusion. And not for nothing, I just said that about Kelsey Plum, but let's be real with this for a second. I'm sure a lot of these women aren't privy to the financial situation that the WNBA is in, right? It's a lot of hearsay, he say, she say. Like I'm sure that some of them are making these comments and they're not necessarily privy to the information. So, you know, and now they're getting killed online. Like it's this whole cycle, right? It's this whole cycle. And I think we need to be able to be adults in some of these things and have good, positive conversations that'll really try to move this thing forward. Because otherwise, we're just going to get stuck in a cycle. No, she wouldn't even sign an autograph, and she unnecessarily shit on CC. She had bad behavior. Why wouldn't they have just say a number or not what y'all have? Well, like I said, I don't know what they are allowed or not allowed to say, right? I would love for them to say, this is the percentage we would want. This is the but realistically, when you're talking about business and they're in negotiations, I don't know if you're necessarily allowed to say those things. So that's something to keep in mind. They queued up for hours for nothing. What do you mean? Were there people that didn't get signatures or something like that? Again, I think this is a lot of this does fall on the W, right? I'm gonna reiterate it. I think the benefits needs to be their priority. CC never signed their autographs. Oh shit. I felt like I kept seeing her around around everywhere though. But I like I said, I do think the WNBA is trending towards the right direction. It'll just take time. Right, Glad still won. I hope I don't jinx it. Let me see if there's any new news. You know, Shams like to do random shit throughout the day. No, it's just this Chris Paul. The Los Angeles Lakers plan to sign 7-footer Christian Coloco and forward Christian Manon on two-way NBA contracts. Well, that's what they're planning on doing, but let me see. I think I covered everything that I wanted to cover today. Overall, I think it was a positive W. It was a positive weekend. They were reporting. I want to wait until they report some more numbers on the All-Star weekend before we talk about it. It's a day, 2 days after. So I want to wait for a couple more of the numbers, and then we'll talk about that. Because genuinely, we could have the Caitlin Clark conversation, but until she plays again next year, we won't really know. Koloko looked decent in summer league. Good to have a 2A in case your third big gets hurt. That's facts. Take the fine. But hey, man, hey, 2 hours. Hey, we keep doing these longer streams, but this was extremely necessary. Extremely necessary. Like I said, I know it was a little bit of a different conversation today. I hope y'all enjoyed it. I hope y'all think that I did a solid job of trying to explain that situation to the best that I could and make the proper connections. But let me see what y'all said. You are not allowed to cuss tellers. Still do it. You can't talk about refs, yet players still do it. Complaining while getting paid that much money to play basketball is just silly. It'd be like that. Hey, man, at that point, that's on you to... I'm keeping my bread. I'm going to keep my mouth shut and keep my bread, but that's just me. But before I get out of here, man, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe, all that good stuff. It really, really helps the channel out. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Y'all are killing the live streams, man. Thank you so much. Thank you, Elijah, big number one, numero uno. Thank you, Elijah. Thank you, Bruce. Thank you, Tulip Plays. Thank you, Black Canadian. Thank you, Derpy. Thank y'all so much, man. Y'all are literally unbelievable. Y'all are the greatest, man. Thank you so much. W Stream, thank you. Peace. I'll see y'all on Wednesday, man. Same time. Y'all have a great one. Y'all could have been anywhere on the internet, but y'all were here with me, and I appreciate y'all for that. So thank you so much. I'll see y'all later, man. Leave a like on this. Thank you. Y'all have a good one.